What's up, everybody? I'm so excited for this video, and I hope you are too, but first, if you're new here, smash that subscribe button to join the party. And if you're already part of the crew, show some love with a like. Let's get started.
All right, get ready for some serious action. We are live trackside in Abu Dhabi for the final race of the season, and things are heating up. It's going to be a close one.
Absolutely, yeah.
It all comes down to this, the last race, the longest season ever in Formula One history.
It's been a long one.
And today, we're diving deep into FP3, that last practice session before the all-important qualifying session.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can find any clues in FP3 about how qualifying and the race are going to shake out.
Absolutely, yeah. FP3 is always a good one to look at because teams are fine-tuning those setups so we can really see where the pass is.
Right, yeah. Okay, so first up, McLaren. Wow. They just pulled off a 1-2 finish in FP3.
Yeah.
Piastri ahead of Norris.
Yeah, very impressive.
Now remember, Norris was actually faster in FP2.
He was, yeah.
So this is a pretty big shift. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the long-run pace that they had, especially on the hard tires, really impressive.
Okay.
They've clearly got that tire management dialed in, which is super important for a track like Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tire management is key here.
Huge.
So does all this mean, are they actual contenders for the race win? Especially with Piastri and Norris battling it out for the championship.
I mean, it's looking good for them right now.
Yeah.
Norris has that championship lead, of course, but Piastri is right there. He's not giving up.
And speaking of not giving up, did you see that onboard footage of Norris going off?
Yeah.
He was really pushing home to catch Piastri.
Oh, yeah. Pushing it to the limit, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it exciting to watch that aggressive driving, but he's got to keep it clean if he wants to win that championship.
Yeah, yeah.
On the other hand, you've got Piastri who needs to really watch those track limits.
Oh, right. Yeah.
One penalty could end it all for him.
For sure. For sure. Big consequences.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Mercedes.
Yeah.
Hamilton, he's looking good. P3, not bad, especially since he's won 5 times in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, he's always a threat.
Always a threat. But then you look at his teammate Russell down in P6 and even said, not sure what's going on. Car feels okay, just very slow.
Well, that's concerning, isn't it?
Yeah, what do you make of that?
I mean, it sounds like Mercedes might be having some trouble with their setup, you know? Maybe they just haven't quite found the sweet spot for that car balance.
Okay, interesting. So maybe some work to do over there. All right, so what about Red Bull? Reigning champ Verstappen. He had a pretty quiet session finishing P4.
Yeah.
Teammate Perez even further down the order, P10. What's going on there?
Well, Perez especially, he had a tough time out there.
Yeah.
His fastest lap was actually on used soft tires, and he even reported some balance issues in those high-speed corners.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so it seems like Red Bull might also be struggling with setup, which is a bit of a surprise, you know?
Yeah, a little surprising given their dominance this season.
Absolutely.
Okay, so maybe not the straightforward weekend we thought they would have. All right, let's move on to Ferrari. Mixed bag for them.
Yeah, definitely a mixed.
So Leclerc, unfortunately, he's got a grid penalty because of that new battery, so he's going to start 10 places lower than where he qualifies. That's a big hit, especially for their chances in the Constructors' Championship.
Oh, it's rough.
Tough break. But then Sainz, his teammate, he's up there in P5, but there was some smoke coming from his car.
Uh-oh. Not good.
Yeah, maybe a sign of some reliability issues that they need to figure out before the race.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
Reliability has been a problem for them in the past, so any issue in the race could really damage their championship hopes.
Yeah, totally. All right, we can't forget about the midfield battle. Haas had a really strong showing.
Really strong.
Magnussen and Hülkenberg finishing P7 and P8.
Yep.
Great to see them finishing the season strong.
Absolutely great to see.
Also saw Alpine drivers, Gasly and Ricciardo, really pushing out there, even exploring those track limits.
Yeah, they were pushing it.
Everyone wants to finish this last race strong.
Oh, absolutely. You can see it.
And then there's Fernando Alonso. Good spirits as always, even though he called his Aston Martin the worst car ever.
I love his humor.
You gotta love that guy.
Classic Alonso.
All right, so quick recap of the top 10. McLaren on top, Piastri and Norris, followed by Hamilton, Verstappen, and then Sainz.
Yep.
Then we have Russell, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Leclerc, and Perez rounding out the top 10.
It's a tight field.
Yeah.
And with qualifying just around the corner, things could change drastically.
Totally, totally. And speaking of qualifying, you mentioned that track position is super important in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, it's crucial.
Yeah.
Overtaking here is notoriously difficult, so qualifying is going to be absolutely critical.
Right. So it sets the stage for Sunday's race.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for the teams going into qualifying, and then, of course, the race.
Well, it looks like we've got a real battle on our hands.
Yeah.
McLaren looking surprisingly strong, Mercedes right there, and Red Bull, well, they might have some work to do.
Right, and then we've got Ferrari facing that uphill battle with Leclerc's grid penalty. And with the midfield teams really pushing, this weekend could be full of surprises.
You never know what's going to happen, that's for sure.
I can't wait.
It's going to be exciting.
So are you ready for qualifying?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
I am too. All right, we'll be back soon to break down all the action from qualifying and then, of course, the race. But until then, keep those engines revving.
Keep them revving, yeah. It's going to be a fascinating qualifying session for sure. And then the race. Oh, man.
I can't wait. It's going to be epic. So you said overtaking is really difficult here in Abu Dhabi. What kind of strategies do you think we'll see in the race from the teams?
Well, with track position being so important, I think we're going to see teams really prioritize that qualifying performance.
Okay, yeah.
A strong starting position can make all the difference here, especially for drivers like Leclerc, with that grid penalty. He needs to make up some ground.
Right, yeah, so you're saying you think Ferrari might try something risky to get that track position early on?
It's possible they could gamble on a different tire strategy, maybe. Starting on the softest compound, trying to gain an advantage right at the start. But that's risky. Tire degradation could be a problem.
Yeah, that's a tough call, for sure. So what about Red Bull? Do you think they're actually struggling? Or are they just kind of, I don't know, hiding their true pace?
It's hard to say. Red Bull is known for sandbagging,
Sandbagging.
Yeah, they like to keep their rivals guessing.
What's sandbagging? For those who don't know, what does that mean?
Basically, it's when a team, they run their car with heavier fuel loads during practice, or maybe they detune the engine settings a little bit just to disguise their true performance.
So they're being sneaky, trying to lull the competition into a false sense of security.
Exactly, yeah. It's a bit of a mind game.
I like it. Clever. All right, so back to Abu Dhabi. Besides track position and tire strategy, what else could affect the race?
Well, the pit lane in Abu Dhabi is actually one of the shortest on the calendar. So pit stop times are going to be super important here.
Yeah.
A quick stop could gain you a position. A slow stop could cost you big time.
Yeah. So those pit crews, they're under a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah. The pressure is on, for sure. And you also got to think about the drivers themselves.
Right.
This is the last race of a really long season, so fatigue, that's going to be a factor, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they're pushing themselves to the absolute limit, physically, mentally.
Exactly. And after such a long season, fatigue can definitely lead to mistakes, maybe some lapses in concentration, especially towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then you add the championship battle on top of that.
Yeah.
Even more pressure for those guys.
Yeah.
What about the drivers who are leaving their teams or even retiring from Formula One?
Yeah.
What does this race mean for them?
Well, for those drivers, this race is about more than just points. It's their last chance to say goodbye to the sport, to the fans,
right,
to their teams. They're going to want to go out on a high, leave a lasting impression.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got championship battles, tire strategies, pit stops, driver fatigue, and emotional farewells. Sounds like a roller coaster of a race.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be wild.
So many things could happen. It's impossible to predict.
And that's what makes Formula One so exciting.
Exactly. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like we are in for an absolute showdown under the Abu Dhabi lights.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get too excited about the race, let's take a step back for a second.
Yeah.
This Grand Prix, it's the end of a really long season, but it also feels like the end of an era in some ways.
It does, yeah. I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, there's definitely a shift happening in Formula One right now.
Yep.
New regulations, new driver pairings, and you've got all this young talent coming up.
That's right. You've got those young guys like Piastri really making a name for themselves.
Yeah.
And then you have the veterans like Hamilton still proving that they're the best.
Absolutely.
It's a really cool mix.
It is. And don't forget about that development race between the teams. It's constant. Every Grand Prix, there's new innovations, new strategies, always pushing the limits.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how much Formula One changes from one season to the next.
It never gets old.
Never sits still.
That's why we love it, right? That constant pursuit of speed and innovation.
It's captivating.
Absolutely.
All right, so as the sun sets on this last practice session, we're left with a lot of questions and even more excitement for what's to come.
A lot of unanswered questions.
Qualifying is next, and then the main event.
Yeah.
The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Can't wait.
So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, just one. Pay close attention to that starting grid. It's going to tell a story.
Okay.
Look for those tire choices, the potential for overtakes early on, and maybe some drivers that are flying under the radar.
Right.
This race is far from over. Anything can happen.
And on that note, we'll leave you to think about all the possibilities.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into FP3. We'll be back soon to break down all the action from qualifying and, of course, the race. But until then, keep those engines ready.
Keep 'em revving.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting this channel by hitting the subscribe and like buttons. This will help the channel grow and expand on the journey we have begun together here at AI Meets You.